Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I, Katie Meister, current commissioner of the Big 12 Conference, we are all gathered here this evening to honor a special player in person. He is this year's unanimous Big 12 Conference Player of the Year and one of the foremost frontrunners for the National Player of the Year. The man we will be hearing from in just a few minutes has been through an incredible journey that has led him to where he is today. Before talking about this year's award, I would first like to cover the history of the past winners. Being recognized as the Player of the Year for basketball in a conference as competitive as the Big 12 is an honor that only select few ever receive. This award is highly prestigious, with many of the former winners having moved on to illustrious professional careers. Players like Raphael LaFrentz, Jamal Tinsley, Drew Gordon, and Tony Allen all won Player of the Year honors before having lengthy NBA careers. Three of the more recent winners who have showcased the most talent, Kevin Durant of Texas, Michael Beasley from Kansas State, and Oklahoma's Blake Griffin. While Beasley was first-team All-American, both Durant and Griffin received National Player of the Year honors and went on to become NBA All-Stars. All in all, out of the 15 Big 12 Players of the Year, 12 are current or former NBA players, 7 were NBA lottery picks, 2 were National Players of the Year, and 2 were NBA All-Stars. This year's recipient looks to continue this tradition of excellence. Thomas Robinson of the University of Kansas becomes the 7th Jayhawk in the 16-year history of the conference to be selected as Player of the Year. Known simply by T-Rob by those in Lawrence, Thomas Earl Robinson was born in Washington, D.C. and attended high school at Brewster Academy in Wolfboro, New Hampshire. He was an honorable member in his senior year in high school and chose KU over USC, Memphis, and Texas. Interestingly enough, Thomas had only one scholarship offer prior to his senior year in high school. Thomas didn't get an opportunity to play much his first 2 seasons at KU. He sat behind current NBA post players Cole Aldrich, Markieff Morris, and Marcus Morris initially. He played some his sophomore year, but was a reserve that came off the bench to relieve Morris twins. In a story that many basketball fans around this country have already heard, last season, in the matter of just 3 weeks, Thomas lost both maternal grandparents and his mother. With those 3 being his closest immediate family, the only person he now has left in his family is his 8-year-old sister, Jayla. Amazingly, only 12 hours after hearing the news of his mother had passed away, Thomas and the rest of the KU squad mustered up the courage to play and compete in a conference game against Texas. Directly after the game, the team flew to D.C. to be with Thomas for the funeral. Getting through that tragedy and learning and leading on basketball for support set Thomas up for what transpired this season. In his first year as a full-time starter, T-Rob exploded. He had 22 double-doubles in 31 games and averaged 18 points per game and 11.9 rebounds per game. In a non-conference game against North Dakota earlier this season, he notched 30 points and 21 rebounds in 34 minutes of action. It was the first time since 1961 that a KU player recorded at least 30 points and 20 rebounds in one game. He led Kansas to an unprecedented 8 straight regular season conference championship that season. Doing so, facing constant double and even triple teams from opponents in games. His performance this year has been one of the greatest individual efforts in recent memory, setting him up for the next stage in his life. Even with all the success Thomas has achieved in basketball so far, his career is just beginning. If he elects to turn pro following this conclusion of this season as expected, Thomas is expected to be a top 5 pick in the NBA draft. This would put him and his sister Jayla in a much more comfortable situation than what they have experienced so far. He's experienced growth that comes from one of the greatest of tragedies. The success on the basketball court and now the joy of being in the Big 12 Player of the Year, he has the brightest of futures laid out ahead of him. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you 2012 Big 12 Player of the Year, Thomas Robinson.